Welcome back. This is the Intel on ENCA. It's good to have you with us now. The Police Minister, Cele, has visited hotspots in KwaZulu-Natal ahead of voting tomorrow. Our senior reporter, Desen Tatia, has been following Cele throughout the day and joins me now from Camperdown outside Pietermaritzburg, where the IEC staff fear for their lives. So let's get more details then from Desen. Desen, what are the details? Why is IEC staff so fearful of the situation in Camperdown to the extent that now the police are being roped in to carry out, IEC staff duties?
So much to talk about, Tulas, but let me narrow it down a little bit. So the day started today with the extra deployments that the police minister was overseeing. They are going to different parts of KwaZulu-Natal. This is not just an overreaction or an exaggeration of what is needed. This is actual fact in terms of the voting stations that have been identified to be high risk. Almost half of them come from this province in the whole country. And second to that is Gauteng. So as a result of that, there are about 18,000 odd security personnel that will be taking care of security in and around the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Beyond that, there are also some of them that are equipped to take care of the duties at these voting stations if there are issues around intimidation. That also has already happened. Just yesterday, there were two notable incidents. One of them, you would have seen me earlier down in Umzinto. That was where the police minister was earlier. There, the community was protesting yesterday. It actually turned quite violent. There was a police officer that was shot and wounded there as a result of that protest. That is over the councillor candidate. So there's a group that has mobilized against the existing councillor who is now also elected as the candidate for this upcoming election. There's a group that wasn't happy with that. That's how that matter escalated. The end result there is that voting station isn't operating. Now, to bring you to Camperdown, this is one of the voting stations here. It's a primary school, and there are about 8 in this area which suffered the same fate, meaning that there were staff that were threatened, they were forced to shut down. In fact, this gate that you're seeing here is one of those that was padlocked, and there was a threatening note that was left on it as well, warning staff that if they did continue with their duties yesterday, that they would be attacked. Now, you would imagine then that the staff were quite worried about that, so they decided to abandon their posts, and that's why the process was cut short yesterday. So today there's a heavy police presence here. There were police officers that had to accompany those staff that eventually, there were 2 of them that we saw inside, that eventually did come through and go out to do the home visits. They had to be accompanied just because of the threat here. Now, this issue relates to a concern over the traditional leadership. That's been a matter that's been ongoing. So I'm sure you can pick up the theme here. There are issues that have been going on for a while, and what we're seeing now is really the hangover from that. These things should have been sorted out a long time ago, but they're now interrupting the process. Let's listen in now to the police minister, who was telling us that even if staff are threatened, they have the ability and the resources within the SAPS to place their members in here to take over those duties.
Thanks for the people that have vision. We have many members of the South African police that have been trained as presiding officer and officers of IEC, so that when chips are down and things can't happen from their side, they can be utilized to make sure that the elections don't stop. And those that they want to go and exercise their right, they continue. For instance, the provincial commissioner and IEC, they have spoken about the Camperdown. What is happening in Camperdown, most of the IEC people are local people. So they are scared that if they force and when things are done, everybody's gone, they might be attacked. Therefore, it will be easy for IEC to come to the provincial and tap in that skill that has been put there when those people were trained. We expect that to happen, and that the police take over there. They preside after they've been appointed by the IEC, but they have the necessary skill to do that. So those contingents, that vision was there in both IEC and the police and those that they deal with the election. So we're ready to do that.
And Desen, you've been canvassing this issue with other officials as well?
That's right. So we also got some information from the IEC itself. They have been doing a daily briefing since yesterday, giving an update on the home visits as well as those that are taking place at the polling stations for these special votes. So, you know, there are a lot of moving parts here, and security is just one of them. There were also some other issues around community protests, but in the main, around this and around staff coming to work under these conditions, they simply say that they won't force anyone to come in if they are under threat, that they want to make sure that the safety of staff is guaranteed, because quite rightly, the IEC says here that these members, or rather these employees, have to go back into these communities while police officers and everyone else will leave. They need to deal with the repercussions, especially when there are tension in these types of areas. So let's listen now to Mtombufuti Masinga, the acting head for the IEC in KZN.
High risk means they are deploying no less than 6 members in that voting station from today up until the election day if it's necessary. They can also increase the numbers from the SAPS. The 119 is broken down into a Tshwane municipality where we have 97 voting stations that are high risk. District 43, which is Herigwara districts, we have 10. Ilembe district, we have 5. Uku, we have 1. District 22, Umkungundlovu, we have 4. And District 23, the Midlands, we have 2. So that makes up the 109 voting stations that have been categorized as high risk.
All right, that's Desen Tathia. They're reporting on a situation that's on the go at the moment, because really the elections are our main focus here on the Intel today. So it's information we felt you needed to know right away. In fact, sticking with that, today is the last day for special voting, and tomorrow is, of course, the big day when all eligible South Africans will vote for their preferred ward councillors in the 2021 local government elections. All right, let me introduce you now to our reporters fanned out across the country. Pulele Chwiti-Jones is in Tshwane, Siphamandla Goke in Bloemfontein in the Free State, Govan Whittles, as you will have seen earlier on, out in Nelson Mandela Bay, and we find Heidi Jokos in the city of Polokwane in Limpopo. Thank you to all of you. Where do I start? Let me start with you, Pule. Let's talk about and simply because, you know, Tshwane is going to be one of those major political contests in this election. So where, in as far as the ANC is concerned, what do we know about their candidates, and what has the Tshwane chairperson of the ANC been telling you about their chances ahead of tomorrow?
Well, a very good afternoon to us. And today, the Tshwane chairperson, Kgosi Mayepa, casted his special vote at Ward 77, Roy Skral in Centurion. Quite confident that this time around, the ANC can get outright majority. Of course, we do understand that the city has been in a DA-EFF partnership in terms of governing the administration. But it has been very challenging for the DA, as they've had 4 mayors from 2016 to now, which including Soli Msimang, who's now the member of the provincial legislature in Gauteng. They battled Stevens Bukhalapa. Then they had Abel Tau. The city was then placed under administration. Then they had the Randall Williams, who is now the current mayor. And we've heard pronouncements from John Steenhuisen as well, who was in Mamelodi, saying that they're not willing to go into a coalition talk with the ANC as well, dubbing them as a party which is full of crooks. And I quote John Steenhuisen saying that. But Kgosi Mayepa as well is quite confident that this time around they will win back Tshwane. But it will not be easy for him. We understand that he's one of the favorites to actually be, his name to be endorsed as a mayoral candidate representing the ANC in Tshwane. But he's also facing other tough contenders, such as REC member Khope Franz Bushilo as well, who wants that position. So it's quite a lot of dynamics that are going on in there. And we spoke about him regarding that situation earlier to us. And I just want you to take a listen to what he said about him, one of being those who may be put forward to represent Tshwane for that mayoral position candidate in the city.
The African National Congress at the present moment is not engaged in the process of mayors. The ANC has said that after the elections we will choose mayors. There is a process that has been undertaken, as you know, we are under renewal. That process will be a tight process of selection, will require qualifications, academic qualifications and credentials, and also experience, as the President has outlined. So we will allow that process to unfold after Tuesday when we get the results, and we're hopeful that the ANC will indeed, because it has a quality of cadres that are actually capable to do so. We know that those people will come here from Tshwane, and one of them, when the ANC wins, will become the mayor.
Are you gunning for that position?
In the ANC, we don't gun for positions. The collective leadership make a decision. At the present moment, the collective leadership of the ANC still needs to sit after we have won. So the preoccupation right now is not gunning for positions, it's to win elections. And when we have won elections, we'll sit down and elect among ourselves.
All right, so it seems after the election, Pule, there in Tshwane, there's going to be a secondary contest within the ANC for the mayoral chain, should the ANC secure that city in terms of the numbers. Let me take it to ENCA's Sipha Mandla Goke out in Bloemfontein. Sipha, I saw you using your handkerchief to wipe off your brow from time to time. It seems things are hot where you are. Is it hot politically? What is Mxolisi Dukwana telling you about the contest and their prospects?
Well, it's really hot here in Mangaung, Bloemfontein, the only metro, by the way, in the province that all political parties are vying for here in the Free State. It's hot within the ANC itself, as the ANC will look to elect the new mayor if they win these local government elections. Of course, they have squandered so many opportunities to govern successfully Mangaung Metro. It's been plagued by allegations of maladministration, refuse removal, potholes and corruption. All those allegations have been there. The ANC in the Free State has considered that indeed they have failed the people of Mangaung. They are asking for one more chance to correct their wrongs. They have had enough opportunities to govern successfully here in Mangaung, but they've been struggling and they've been plagued by internal battles. We have seen the metro going for almost a year without a mayor. Only a month or two ago, they successfully convened to elect the new mayor, Mxolisi Siyonzane, who will be now known as the former mayor, unless, of course, the ANC wins the election and they decide to reinstate him as the mayor of Mangaung. So it's the battle of the metros across the country, but here in the Free State, it's the battle of Mangaung. The biggest prize in this province is Mangaung. And I asked Mxolisi Dukwana, who is the interim provincial committee convener of the ANC in the Free State, to say, are they not worried about the possibility of being punished by the voters of Mangaung because they have squandered so many opportunities? They have collapsed the only metro in the province, which was once thriving. Well, he says at the moment they would rather be in opposition benches instead of forming a coalition government just for the sake of being in power. They say if voters do not trust them, they are willing to accept their fate and their punishment. Let's take a listen to him.
Would not be entering into coalitions that have no value, that there is nothing in it. We don't want to be leading for, at all costs. If the people of the Free State in certain municipalities have not given us that outright majority, we will not be jumping into bed with people we do not share values with, and we will rather adjust ourselves and become good oppositions and prepare for the next elections. We are not going to compromise the values of this glorious movement. So the ANC, and for what it stands for, will not be compromised because we want to be the leader of a particular municipality.
All right, that's an interesting take there from Mxolisi Dukwana, speaking from a province that does include Mangaung and the way that the voters have been let down, but also does include other municipalities, including that notorious one, Maluti Apofung. Let me go to Nelson Mandela Bay, where we find Govan Whittles. Govan, you've had an interesting day today. The politics of that metro could at best be, be described as tense, but sometimes outright fractious, including the coalitions that have happened over the years there in Nelson Mandela Bay. What is the current mayor, Ngaba Banga, telling you?
Well, Ngaba Banga is still appearing very confident, Tulasizwe, even as it appears that the ANC has gotten its act together for the most part in its strongholds. And right now the situation is that the ANC believes its supporters in the areas that didn't vote in 2016 will definitely come out to vote. And just based on that expectation, they're very confident that they'll be able to govern in Nelson Mandela Bay. Ngababanga says there's no way that will happen, and he believes that voters will reject the ANC and are rejecting the ANC on a local issue basis, and says that small things that happen in the communities will be the triggers for how people vote in these elections, and it won't just be the general organization of the ANC having mass appeal among the people. So let's have a look at what he had to say and how he believes these elections will turn out.
It shows that in ANC historical strong areas, the people of the ANC do not want to go out. It's a good sign that the people are beginning to say we reject the ANC. We're going to see it clearly tomorrow when they reject it totally. And I'm telling you, they are going to collapse because it's a sad election for the ANC, because the ANC have broken everything in this city town, including this wall. If you watch it, this wall that is here, under their administration, this wall just collapsed brick by brick. They have not done anything. We're about to fix this wall, put security in this wall. Therefore, the people in Nelson Mandela reject a broken ANC, which have broken our city and broken everything. Now, you are going to see that the DA supporters and those who want to, it's going to be as diverse as possible. Unlike I'm standing here in this Ward 30, the ANC have lost it before. To the UDM, we've seen growth in this unit that I am. There's a growth of ANC DA support here. The DA support is the middle class teachers and nurses here. There's a lot of growth on our support. And I'm confident that they know what we've done. We've changed lights here. We've fixed potholes. We have sponsored the neighborhood watch, because we get things done, and the ANC breaks all those things. That was the time. You can see I'm so cool and calm, and I can see that the real government of the people for the next 5 years is coming to take over.
Lastly, let's take the N1 and head up north, where the bomma are to be found. And we find ENCA's Heidi Jerkos in Polokwane. Heidi, tell me about how special voting went, as well as the preparations for tomorrow. Boots on the ground, we understand.
Yes, indeed, Tula. So we do understand that special voting yesterday and today has gone reasonably well, with no major disruptions that have been reported. We do understand that there were about 150,000 people that registered for special votes in the Limpopo province, with just over 40,000 recorded as of yesterday. We're still trying to get hold of the IEC to give us those details, which I'm sure will come through later on when the IEC has that national briefing. But it seems as though it's all systems go to us, but that does not take away from the many issues that this province faces. Shahid Dipale and I have been crisscrossing this province in the last week, trying to figure out what some of the major issues are, and we do understand that it's basic service delivery and the lack of water supply in many of these villages where this has been promised, money has been spent, yet nothing has been delivered. Speaking to people throughout the week, many have said that they will still vote, and even though these services are not delivered, they will have some kind of hope that the government will provide this to them. Of course, Limpopo is a stronghold of the ANC, but it will be interesting to see whether or not these areas that are still struggling with basic services will decide to vote otherwise, as they have been left in the dark, many say, for years with no basic services. Also, we know that the MEC of Community Safety, together with the security cluster in the province, briefed earlier on with regards to their preparedness for tomorrow. 5 areas have been identified. We know the Greater Tshwane Greater Tshwane is one of them that has been identified. Mokopane is another one where there could possibly be unrest, and this is all linked to communities previously protesting and indicating that they are unhappy with basic services. We know over 5,000 police officers, Metro Police, as well as SANDF, will be deployed across the province, specifically in the key areas. Vembe district, together with Capricorn, will be the two areas with the most deployment. So it seems as though the province is over-preparing rather for this province should there be any unrest, and because there are SANDF bases in many of the areas in this province, they will deploy the SANDF in those areas where there are the bases should the need arise. But it will all tell, the picture will be put together to us tomorrow as to what voters do and whether or not they vote or disrupt voting stations.
All right, Heidi, thank you for that. Heidi Jokos ending there that whistle-stop tour, really, of the country, of various parts of the country, led by our spearhead, the spearhead of the stellar lineup that we've put together here at ENCA that will be leading our coverage of this election. The team there, including Pulele Chwiti-Jones, who's in Tshwane, Siphamandla Goke out in Bloemfontein, and Govan Whittles, who is in Nelson Mandela Bay. Colleagues, thank you. This is the Intel here on ENCA. I'm back with more in just a moment, including a conversation with Jan Hubert, who will be unpacking some of what we've heard in the last while, as well as hearing from Sbu Zigote of the organization Abahlali Basemjondolo, just getting their insights ahead of the elections tomorrow.